I'm Ethan Mitchell, 34 years old and the responsible older son who built a successful career while supporting my parents financially for years. Last spring, I accidentally discovered everything was going to my younger brother Tyler. Everything. After 5 years of paying their mortgage, medical bills, and repairs totaling over $140,000, I finally stopped. A month later, Mom texted me, "The mortgage is due." No hello, no explanation. I simply replied with 6 words that changed our family forever. Before I continue this story, drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from, and hit subscribe if you've ever had to stand up for yourself against family who took you for granted. Growing up in Columbus, Ohio, in a middle-class suburb, shaped our family dynamics from the beginning. From my earliest memories, the contrast between how my parents treated me versus my brother Tyler was clear. 4 years younger than me, Tyler was the carefree, athletic one who could do no wrong in their eyes. My father Richard was particularly strict with me. When I brought home an A-, he'd ask why it wasn't an A+. When Tyler brought home CS, they celebrated his consistent performance. This double standard became our normal, though it stung every time. Mom, Karen, had an emotional connection with Tyler I never experienced. When I faced bullying in 7th grade, she told me to toughen up. When Tyler struggled with a breakup in high school, she took 3 days off work to comfort him. I started working part-time at 16, stocking shelves at the local grocery store while maintaining honor roll status. My parents called it building character. Meanwhile, Tyler focused exclusively on baseball, with my parents attending every game, buying expensive equipment, and hiring private coaches despite their limited budget. College further highlighted the disparity. I worked 30 hours weekly at a campus bookstore and as a tutor while maintaining a 3.8 GPA at Ohio State. My parents contributed what they could, but I still graduated with $60,000 in student loans. Tyler attended the same university 4 years later but received full financial support from our parents. He changed majors 3 times, maintained average grades, and took 6 years to graduate with a communications degree. My career trajectory began promisingly at a financial consulting firm where I worked 60-hour weeks to establish myself. Each promotion came through dedicated effort rather than connections. By 30, I had reached a 6-figure salary and middle management position. Tyler's post-college years followed a different path. He bounced between entry-level marketing jobs, never staying more than 18 months at any position. He attempted a sports merchandise startup that failed within a year, then experienced several periods of unemployment while finding himself. Throughout these years, he lived rent-free in our parents' basement, then in an apartment they subsidized. Our parents retired earlier than planned when Dad developed chronic back problems at 62. Their savings were insufficient after years of prioritizing immediate wants over retirement planning. Mom took a part-time retail position, but their combined income barely covered basic expenses. They had refinanced their mortgage multiple times to cover various expenses, including helping Tyler after his business failed. That's when my role as financial supporter began. Initially, it was occasional help with unexpected expenses: a new water heater, car repairs, medical bills not covered by Medicare. Within a year, I was contributing $2,000 monthly toward their mortgage and regular expenses. This support increased steadily over 5 years to include virtually all home maintenance costs, premium cable packages they insisted they needed, and even vacations they couldn't afford. Despite my financial contributions, the favoritism toward Tyler continued unabated. Family gatherings were always scheduled around his convenience, not mine, despite my busy work schedule. My parents constantly praised Tyler's temporary jobs and side projects while dismissing my promotions as just good luck or being in the right place. When I received a major industry award, my parents mentioned it briefly during a family dinner. When Tyler completed a weekend certification course, they organized a celebration and called relatives to share the news. The emotional support imbalance became increasingly apparent as we entered our 30s. When I went through a difficult breakup with my girlfriend of 3 years, my mother suggested I just needed to focus on work. When Tyler experienced a similar situation 6 months later, they invited him for extended stays, cooked his favorite meals, and regularly checked in on his emotional state. Despite the growing resentment I felt, I continued supporting them financially out of a sense of obligation and genuine concern for their well-being. I created automatic monthly transfers to their account and added them as authorized users on one of my credit cards for emergencies. I scheduled regular home maintenance services and paid the providers directly. Every major holiday included generous gifts beyond the financial support I already provided. Looking back, I can see how this arrangement established a pattern that would eventually reach a breaking point. I became the reliable source of financial stability while receiving minimal emotional recognition. And Tyler remained the beloved son who received unconditional support while contributing nothing to our aging parents' well-being. The discovery happened during tax season last April. My parents had always been somewhat disorganized with financial documents, so I had established a tradition of helping them gather necessary paperwork for their accountant. This particular Sunday afternoon, I arrived at their house with coffee and donuts, prepared for our usual few hours of sorting through receipts and statements. "We've kept everything in the usual places," Mom said, barely looking up from her television show as I entered. Tyler was sprawled on the couch beside her, ostensibly visiting but actually absorbed in his phone. "I'll be in Dad's office if you need me," I replied, receiving only nods in acknowledgement. Dad's desk was cluttered as usual with bills, magazines, and random papers. I began my systematic organization process, creating piles for medical expenses, property taxes, and charitable contributions. In the middle drawer, beneath a stack of utility statements, I noticed a legal-sized envelope from Peterson and Williams, a local law firm. Assuming it contained tax-relevant information, I opened it. The document inside changed everything. Dated just 3 months prior, it was their updated will and estate plan. I initially skimmed it, expecting the standard equal distribution between children. Instead, specific language caught my attention. All real property, including our family home at 1437 Maple Avenue, to be transferred in its entirety to our son, Tyler Mitchell. Confused, I read further. All financial accounts, investments, insurance proceeds, and personal property to be distributed to Tyler Mitchell. I flipped through additional pages looking for my name, finally finding it in a brief paragraph. "As our son Ethan Mitchell has established financial security, we have chosen to provide for Tyler Mitchell who may require additional support." My hands shook as I reread the document, certain I had misunderstood. This couldn't be right. They had updated their will just 3 months ago after 5 years of my financial support. After I had paid off half their mortgage, after I had covered tens of thousands in medical bills. I heard Dad's heavy footsteps approaching. "Finding everything okay?" he asked, pausing in the doorway. I held up the document. "I found your will." His expression shifted from confusion to discomfort, then resignation. "You weren't supposed to see that yet." "Yet?" "When was I supposed to see it? After you were gone and I couldn't ask why everything goes to Tyler? Even the things I'd been paying for?" Mom appeared behind him, Tyler trailing curiously. "What's going on?" "Ethan found the will," Dad explained quietly. Her face tightened. "You were snooping through private papers?" "I was organizing tax documents where you told me to look," I replied, struggling to maintain composure. "Were you ever going to tell me that everything I've been helping pay for is going exclusively to Tyler? You don't need anything from us," Mom stated dismissively. "You've done well for yourself. And I've done well for you too," I countered. "I've contributed over $100,000 to your expenses in the past 5 years." Dad shifted uncomfortably. "We appreciate that, son, but Tyler needs a safety net. You don't." So my financial support is acceptable, but I don't deserve to be treated equally in your will? We're trying to equalize things. Mom insisted. You have financial security. Tyler doesn't. Equalize? I worked through college and graduated with debt. Tyler got a free ride. I've been supporting you for years while he contributes nothing. Tyler stepped forward. Don't talk about me like I'm not here. Did you know about this? I asked him directly. His momentary hesitation told me everything before he shrugged. They mentioned something about updating their will. The betrayal deepened. They had discussed this arrangement with Tyler but never thought to mention it to me, despite my ongoing financial support. That night I couldn't sleep. I reviewed bank statements documenting years of transfers to my parents' account. The total was staggering, over $140,000 in 5 years, not counting Christmas gifts, vacation expenses, and numerous smaller costs I had absorbed without question. The next day, I called my best friend Marcus. Am I overreacting? I asked after explaining the situation. Are you kidding me? He responded. They've been taking advantage of you for years, and now they're planning to give everything to your brother? That's beyond messed up. They say they're equalizing our situations. By taking your money and giving your brother the rewards? That's not equalizing, that's exploitation. His words crystallized what I had felt but couldn't articulate. This wasn't about the money itself, it was about the fundamental inequality of the relationship and the years of taking me for granted. The final straw came 2 weeks after discovering the will. Mom called asking if I could provide $5,000 for a kitchen renovation. The countertops are so outdated, she explained. And Tyler said he'll help with the design since he took that interior decorating course last summer. Will Tyler be contributing financially to this renovation? I asked. Well, no. She hesitated. You know his situation is different. But he'll oversee the contractors while we're at the lake house next month. Later that evening, Tyler texted me. Mom said you're being difficult about the kitchen. You can afford it, what's the big deal? They deserve nice things. This casual expectation of my financial support, coupled with their vacation plans and Tyler's complete lack of monetary contribution, crystallized the true nature of our family dynamic. I was the bank, not the beloved son. It was time for things to change. The day after the kitchen renovation request, I scheduled a meeting with my financial advisor, Robert. We had worked together for years, but I had always been reluctant to discuss my family financial obligations with him. I've noticed your personal financial goals consistently get delayed, Robert observed after I explained the situation. Your retirement contributions are below optimal levels, and you've postponed buying property multiple times. I've had family obligations, I replied, the justification sounding hollow even to my own ears. Ethan, there's a difference between helping family and enabling dependency, he said carefully. From what you've described, your parents and brother have come to expect your support without reciprocating in meaningful ways. We spent 2 hours reviewing my finances, calculating how my family's support had impacted my own financial trajectory, and discussing healthier boundaries. The numbers were sobering. If I had invested the money I'd given my parents, I would have been significantly closer to my own goals. The decisive moment came that weekend. Mom called to discuss the kitchen renovation timeline, casually mentioning they were considering a Caribbean cruise package. Since your father deserves a break, how are you planning to pay for a cruise when you need my help for basic expenses? I asked. We found a good deal, she replied dismissively. Besides, we haven't had a proper vacation in years. That same evening, Tyler posted photos of a new sports car on social media with the caption, "Hard work pays off. #blessed #new ride." I knew from previous conversations that his job barely covered his apartment rent. The accumulated weight of years of inequality finally crystallized into clarity. That night, I drafted a careful email to my parents. Dear Mom and Dad, I need to address something important. Last month, I discovered you were leaving everything to Tyler. This was deeply hurtful, especially considering the financial support I provided for the past 5 years. I've contributed over $140,000 to your expenses since your retirement, including $2,000 monthly for your mortgage, all major home repairs, and most of your medical expenses not covered by insurance. I've done this willingly because I care about you. But the discovery that everything will go to Tyler, including the house I've been helping to pay for, makes me realize our relationship has become unbalanced. Effective immediately, I need to step back from financial support. The automatic transfers to your account will stop, and I've removed you as authorized users on my credit card. This isn't about the money itself, but about the acknowledgement of our relationship. I need to prioritize my own financial security and future. I love you both and hope we can build a more balanced relationship going forward. Ethan. The responses came swiftly. Mom called within minutes of receiving the email, her voice shrill with indignation. After all we've done for you. We raised you, fed you, clothed you. This is how you repay us? Dad's email was more measured but equally manipulative. We're disappointed you've chosen money over family. We never raised you to be so selfish. When you calm down, we can discuss how to move forward. Tyler's reaction was the most revealing. He called at 11 that night, clearly agitated. What the hell is wrong with you? Mom's crying and Dad's blood pressure is through the roof. Did they show you my email? I asked. Of course they did. You're trying to hurt them because you're jealous of me. I'm not jealous. Tyler. I'm tired of being used. Used? They're your parents. They gave you everything. They gave you everything. I worked for what I have. And I've been supporting them for years while you contribute nothing. That's different. I'm still getting established. You're 30. How long does getting established take? You know what? Keep your money. We don't need it. He hung up abruptly. Despite my resolution, implementing these changes wasn't easy. I canceled the automatic transfers to their account and removed them as authorized users on my credit card. For the first time in 5 years, I declined the weekly Sunday dinner invitation, citing work commitments. The first family gathering after my decision, my cousin's birthday party, was tense. Mom maintained icy silence toward me while periodically making comments within earshot about some people's priorities. Dad attempted awkward small talk but avoided any mention of finances. Tyler played the devoted son role with exaggerated attentiveness while occasionally shooting triumphant glances my way. My aunt pulled me aside during the party. Your mother says you've abandoned them financially. Is everything okay? It's complicated, I replied, unwilling to drag extended family into the situation. We're working through some issues. The first month without contact from my parents was strange, a mixture of guilt and unexpected relief. Friends who had witnessed years of imbalance in my family relationships supported my decision. Marcus invited me on a weekend hiking trip I would normally have declined to handle some home repair at my parents' house. My colleague Jennifer, who had been asking me out for months, seemed pleased when I finally had time for dinner. For the first time in years, I focused on my own needs and relationships without the constant background anxiety of my parents' financial demands. Despite the family tension, I experienced a growing sense that I had made the right decision. Exactly 1 month after I sent the email establishing new boundaries, it happened. I was reviewing quarterly projections in my office when my phone buzzed with a text from Mom. The mortgage is due. We need $2,000 by tomorrow. Bank account overdrawn. No greeting. No acknowledgement of our situation. No indication they had even tried to solve the problem themselves. Just the expectation that I would immediately provide the money as I had for years. My heart raced with the familiar panic response I had developed whenever my parents expressed financial need. My finger hovered over the phone as ingrained patterns of behavior urged me to solve their problem immediately. But beneath the panic was a new emotion, anger at the presumptuous demand. The text confirmed what I had suspected but couldn't fully accept. Our relationship had become primarily transactional. This wasn't a mother reaching out to her son. This was a creditor contacting a reliable source of funds. I took a screenshot of the text and sent it to Marcus with the message. "What would a normal person say to this?" His response came quickly. A normal person would say nothing because a normal mother wouldn't text her son like this. "Where's the hello? Where's the I know we've had issues but we're in trouble? Where's the Tyler can't help so we have to ask you?" I drafted several responses, deleting each one. My first attempt was too emotional. The second too lengthy and explanatory. Finally, I settled on 6 simple words that addressed the core issue. Ask Tyler. Everything will be his anyway. I pressed send and placed my phone face down on my desk, trying to focus on work while my heart pounded. Within minutes, my phone began buzzing continuously. 6 missed calls from Mom appeared, followed by 4 from Dad. Voicemails accumulated, their tone evolving from demanding to pleading as the day progressed. "You need to send the money immediately. Mom." First voicemail. "We're going to lose the house if you don't help." Dad, second voicemail. "I can't believe you're being so heartless." Mom, third voicemail. "Please, son." "We have nowhere else to turn." Dad, fourth voicemail. "Tyler's text arrived during my afternoon meeting. You're really going to let them lose the house over your ego? Real mature, bro." By evening, an email from Dad appeared with the subject line, "Will misunderstanding," claiming they had never intended to make me feel undervalued, and that I had misinterpreted their estate planning intentions. The email carefully avoided addressing why they needed my financial help if Tyler was supposedly responsible enough to inherit everything. The next morning brought an unexpected escalation. My assistant buzzed my office intercom. "Ethan, there's a woman in the lobby insisting on seeing you. She says she's your mother, and it's an emergency." I found Mom creating a scene in our corporate lobby, voice raised as she told the receptionist. "He's abandoned his family. I need to see him right now." Security was already approaching as I reached her. "Mom, this is my workplace. You can't do this here. You leave me no choice. You won't answer our calls." I guided her toward the exit, aware of colleagues watching. "This isn't appropriate. We can talk later if you want to have a real conversation. We need the mortgage money today. The bank called about foreclosure." Outside, Dad was waiting in their car, looking uncomfortable but determined. He approached as we exited the building. "Son, this has gone far enough. Your mother is beside herself with worry." "Have you asked Tyler for help?" I questioned. They exchanged glances. "Tyler's not in a position to help right now," Dad muttered. "But he will be in a position to inherit everything?" "That's different, and you know it," Mom interjected. I maintained my composure despite the public confrontation. "I've been clear about my boundaries. I'm not discussing this at my workplace." The family involvement expanded beyond my parents. That evening, Aunt Susan called, her voice dripping with disapproval. "Your mother is absolutely devastated. I never thought you'd be the type to abandon family when they need you." "Did they tell you about the will?" I asked. "What does that have to do with anything? They need help now." Surprisingly, Uncle James called the following day with a different perspective. "I heard about what's happening. For what it's worth, I think you're right to establish boundaries. Your brother has been coasting for years while you do all the heavy lifting." The family divide became increasingly public when my cousins began taking sides on social media. Some posted vague references to family loyalty, while others messaged me privately expressing support for my position. Through family connections, I learned something revealing. Tyler had borrowed $3,000 from our parents the same week Mom texted me about the mortgage. Yet he was posting photos from a weekend trip to Chicago, staying at an upscale hotel and attending a professional basketball game with expensive seats. His social media featured a long post about Toxic family members who only care about money, without specifically naming me. The comments section filled with sympathetic responses from friends who knew only his version of events. The contrast between his words and actions crystallized the dysfunction that had characterized our family for years. Tyler was unwilling to help despite the inheritance promise, yet quick to judge my refusal to continue enabling the pattern. My parents were unwilling to ask the same of both sons, instead choosing to pressure the one who had already given the most. The mortgage text had become a turning point not because of the request itself, but because of the revealing responses it triggered throughout my family system. As weeks passed without my financial support, news filtered through the family grapevine. My cousin Melissa mentioned during a phone call that my parents had received late notices on their utilities. Uncle James commented that they had asked to borrow money for car repairs. The pattern that emerged confirmed what I had suspected. They had become completely dependent on my contributions without developing any contingency plans. 6 weeks after the mortgage text, I encountered our next-door neighbor Deborah at the local farmer's market. After an awkward greeting, she mentioned seeing my father recently. "Richard seems tired these days," she observed. "He mentioned he's driving for that ride-share service now. And I saw Karen leaving for work in her department store uniform at 6 this morning." The information was surprising. My father had always dismissed such jobs as beneath his skills when I suggested similar solutions in the past. Now, faced with actual financial pressure, they were finding ways to generate income. "They're managing," I replied noncommittally. "Tyler still visits them frequently," she continued, "though he always seems to leave with bags of groceries rather than bringing them. Funny how that works." The most challenging confrontation occurred during my grandmother's birthday celebration. I attended out of respect for her, preparing myself for inevitable family tension. Within minutes of arriving, I could tell my parents had been shaping the narrative. Relatives watched me with expressions ranging from curiosity to outright disapproval. The gathering proceeded with superficial pleasantries until my Uncle Bernard, always outspoken after a few drinks, addressed me directly over dessert. "So you're cutting off your parents because they updated their will? Seems pretty cold, nephew." The table fell silent as all eyes turned to me. "That's not exactly accurate," I replied carefully. "Not what I heard," he continued. "Karen says you discovered they're leaving the house to Tyler and threw a tantrum, refusing to help anymore. Did she mention I'd been paying their mortgage for 5 years? Or that I discovered the will by accident while helping with their taxes?" My father interjected. "This isn't the time or place, Ethan. You've been discussing it with everyone else here," I pointed out. "Why not get my perspective too?" Tyler, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, suddenly stood. "This is Grandma's birthday. Of course you'd make it about yourself." "I didn't bring it up," I responded evenly. "But you're enjoying the attention," he snapped. "Poor Ethan, so generous and unappreciated." "Have you contributed anything to help them since I stopped?" I asked directly. His face flushed. "That's between me and them. So that's a no. I don't have your fancy job and savings." "Yet you posted photos from Chicago last weekend. Front row seats at the game, right?" He stormed out, leaving uncomfortable silence. Grandmother, always the peacemaker, changed the subject. But the damage was done. The family had witnessed the fundamental imbalance firsthand. The situation took a concerning turn when Dad was hospitalized with dangerously high blood pressure 2 weeks later. Mom called at midnight, her voice shaking. "Your father's in the hospital. His blood pressure won't come down. The doctor says it's stress-related." Though unstated, the implication was clear. My actions had caused this health crisis. "Which hospital?" I asked, already reaching for my keys. "Memorial. But don't bother coming unless you're ready to help us properly again." Despite her statement, I went immediately. Dad looked small in the hospital bed, monitoring equipment beeping steadily beside him. Mom barely acknowledged my arrival, while Tyler was conspicuously absent. "Where's Tyler?" I asked. "He's very upset about your father's condition," she replied defensively. "He needed time to process. I learned from the attending physician that Dad's condition was indeed stress-related but had been building for months due to untreated hypertension. The medication he had been prescribed 6 months earlier was found unfilled at the pharmacy apparently. They had chosen not to purchase it despite having my credit card for such expenses at that time. As Dad recovered, the manipulative attempts to regain my financial support intensified. A package arrived containing my childhood baseball trophies with a note. "Found these while cleaning. Remember when we drove you to every game?" Old family photos appeared in my email with captions about happier times and families supporting each other. Dad sent long emails referencing the sacrifices they had made during my childhood, working overtime to afford my school supplies, helping with college applications, attending my graduation. Each message carefully omitted Tyler's preferential treatment or their current expectations. Most pointedly, they began referencing their advancing age and health concerns. "At our age, we never know how much time we have left," Mom wrote. "Do you want to look back with regret on these hard-hearted decisions?" Throughout this period, Tyler maintained his pattern of publicly portraying himself as the devoted son while privately contributing nothing to our parents' well-being. He continued posting about standing by family no matter what, while simultaneously complaining to me via text about their frequent requests for his time. "They expect me to fix their computer again," he wrote, apparently forgetting our strained relationship in his need to vent. "Don't they realize I have my own life? Maybe they think everything comes with the inheritance," I replied. He didn't respond to that message. The situation reached another breaking point at Thanksgiving. Grandmother had personally called, pleading with me to attend the family dinner. "They're still your parents, regardless of disagreements," she reasoned. "And I'm not getting any younger myself." Unable to refuse her, I arrived with a store-bought pie and prepared smile. The meal progressed with strained conversation until Mom made a pointed comment while passing the cranberry sauce. "At least one son cares enough to help around here," she said, smiling at Tyler. "He fixed the garbage disposal yesterday and wouldn't even let us pay him." Something in me snapped at the blatant misrepresentation. Did he mention I paid for that garbage disposal? Or that I offered to have a plumber install it professionally, but you insisted Tyler could do it? "Here we go again," Tyler muttered. "Yes, here we go," I agreed, turning to face the table. "Let's talk about what's really happening. I've contributed over $140,000 to our parents in the past 5 years. Tyler has contributed $0 but expects to inherit everything." "That's not fair," Mom protested. "What's not fair is expecting one son to provide financial support, while promising everything to the other. What's not fair is guilting me about Dad's health while Tyler posts vacation photos. I visit them," Tyler shouted. "I help around the house. And I paid the mortgage, the medical bills, the property taxes, and every major repair," I countered. "Yet I discovered by accident that I'm being written out of the will because I'm already financially secure, security I achieved through hard work while supporting 3 additional adults." The table fell silent. I never wanted to have this conversation publicly. I continued more calmly. "But I'm tired of being portrayed as the villain for establishing reasonable boundaries. This isn't about money, it's about respect and acknowledgement." I placed my napkin beside my barely touched plate and stood. "Grandmother, I'm sorry this happened during dinner. I'll call you tomorrow." As I walked to the door, nobody spoke. The sound of my car starting seemed unnaturally loud in the driveway as I drove away from the unfinished meal and the family system that had finally been openly confronted. 3 days after the Thanksgiving confrontation, an unexpected knock at my door broke the silence. Through the peephole, I saw my father standing alone on the porch, shoulders slumped beneath his winter coat. He looked older than I remembered, the lines in his face deeper, his posture less commanding. I opened the door without greeting. "May I come in?" he asked quietly. "Just to talk." We sat in my living room, the silence stretching uncomfortably until he finally spoke. "I've been thinking about what you said at Thanksgiving." His voice was rougher than usual. "About the inequality. About how we've treated you versus Tyler." I waited, having learned that silence often reveals more than immediate responses. "You're right," he continued, the admission clearly difficult. "We've expected more from you your entire life. We pushed you harder, criticized you more, and then took your support for granted while praising Tyler for minimal effort." The frankness was unexpected. "Why are you saying this now?" "Because I've had time to reflect." He rubbed his hands together, a nervous habit I remembered from childhood. "After your mother and I argued about the Thanksgiving dinner, I started thinking about our relationship over the years. I realized we've never given you the recognition you deserved. It's not about recognition, Dad. It's about basic fairness. I know that now." He looked directly at me. "Our justification about equalizing your situations was wrong. We weren't creating equality, we were perpetuating inequality by expecting you to compensate for your brother's choices." The conversation continued for nearly 2 hours. For perhaps the first time, we spoke honestly about family dynamics that had shaped our relationships for decades. Dad acknowledged the favoritism toward Tyler without excuses or qualifications. He explained their misguided reasoning about protecting Tyler while pushing me toward independence. Recognizing how that pattern had calcified into permanent roles that damaged all of us. Most significantly, he offered a genuine apology without deflection or justification. "I'm sorry, son. We've been unfair to you for years, and you deserve better." Mom's reaction followed a different trajectory. The day after Dad's visit, she called, initially angry. "Your father came home with all these ideas about changing our will and financial arrangements. What did you say to him?" "We had an honest conversation, Mom. Maybe the first one in years. He's talking about selling the house. After all the work we put into it." "That's between you and Dad," I replied calmly. Her defensive posture continued as she listed reasons why their original plan made sense, how Tyler needed protection, how I had always been the strong one. But as I maintained steady, non-argumentative responses, something shifted. "You really think we've favored Tyler?" she asked, her voice smaller. "I know you have. My entire life." The silence stretched before she spoke again. "I never thought of it that way. We were just responding to your different personalities. You created those personalities through different expectations and treatment." Another long pause followed. "Maybe you're right," she finally admitted. "I always saw you as so capable. So independent. I guess I never considered that you needed support too." This acknowledgement, however limited, represented significant growth from her initial position. The conversation ended with tentative plans to meet the following weekend. The most surprising development came a week later when my parents requested my presence at a meeting with their lawyer, Jennifer Reynolds. I arrived at her office uncertain what to expect. "Your parents have asked me to revise their estate planning documents," Jennifer explained after introductions. "They want to ensure both their sons are treated equitably." Dad nodded firmly while Mom appeared less certain but didn't object. "We've decided to divide everything equally between you and Tyler," Dad stated. "The house, the savings, everything." "This isn't necessary," I clarified. "I never wanted your assets. I just needed acknowledgement of the imbalance in our relationship." "We understand that now," Dad replied. "But this is about doing what's right, not just what's required." Mom added hesitantly, "We should have discussed these decisions with you from the beginning, especially given your support." The revision process triggered another confrontation when Tyler learned about the changes. He appeared at our parents' house during a Sunday dinner I had cautiously agreed to attend. "What the hell is going on?" he demanded. waving printouts of estate documents Mom had apparently shared with him. "You're changing everything because Ethan threw a fit about money. We're creating a more balanced approach," Dad explained firmly. "By taking away what you promised me?" Tyler's face flushed with anger. "After all I've done for you?" The irony of his statement hung in the air. "What exactly have you done, Tyler?" I asked quietly. "I've been here. I've visited, helped around the house, been the good son while you were too busy with your career." "And who paid for this house you've been helping around?" I countered. "Who covered Dad's medical bills and Mom's car repairs?" "That's different. You have money." "I have money because I worked for it, saved it, and made responsible choices. The same options were available to you." Dad intervened with unexpected firmness. "Enough. The decision is made. We should have been more equitable from the beginning." Tyler's reaction revealed aspects of his character our parents had never fully acknowledged. He threatened to cut contact, accused them of betrayal, and demanded they choose between their sons. When these tactics failed to change their position, he stormed out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the windows. His departure created an uncomfortable silence until Mom spoke softly. "He's never talked to us that way before." "Because he's never been denied anything before," I observed. The following weeks brought gradual but significant changes to our family dynamic. We established a new financial arrangement where I agreed to help with specific medical expenses my parents couldn't cover, but routine bills became their responsibility. They enrolled in a financial management class at the community center and began seriously considering downsizing to a more affordable home. Most surprisingly, they established clear expectations with Tyler. If he wanted to remain in the will, he needed to contribute proportionally to family needs based on his income. His initial refusal softened when he realized they were serious about maintaining this boundary. Trust rebuilt slowly through consistent actions rather than promises. Dad began calling regularly. Not to request help but to share stories or ask about my work. Mom sent a handwritten letter acknowledging years of imbalance and expressing genuine interest in my life beyond what I could provide financially. Small gestures replaced financial expectations. When I mentioned a challenging work project, Dad offered encouragement rather than dismissing my stress as he might have previously. When I achieved a professional milestone, Mom organized a small celebration that felt genuinely appreciative rather than perfunctory. By Christmas, the family dynamic had shifted noticeably. The gathering at their home was more balanced in attention and expectations. Tyler attended, subdued but present, still adjusting to the new reality where his charm alone didn't guarantee preferential treatment. The gift exchange focused on thoughtfulness rather than monetary value. Dad gave me his father's pocket watch, an heirloom I had always admired but assumed would go to Tyler. "This should be yours," he said simply. "You've always been responsible with valuable things." For the first time in years, conversation flowed naturally without underlying tension or unspoken expectations. We discussed real concerns, shared genuine laughter, and connected as family members rather than financial partners. The change, while still evolving, marked a fundamental shift in how we related to each other. 6 months after the mortgage text that catalyzed these changes, our family landscape had transformed significantly. My parents sold their 4-bedroom suburban house and purchased a smaller, more affordable condominium closer to the city center. The move reduced their monthly expenses substantially while eliminating maintenance concerns that had frequently required my assistance. Dad found unexpected satisfaction in a part-time position at a local hardware store. "I actually enjoy helping people solve problems," he admitted during one of our now regular lunch meetings. "And the employee discount is pretty great." Mom continued working at the department store but with a different attitude. Rather than viewing it as a humiliating necessity, she embraced the social aspects and even received a small promotion to department lead. Most significantly, my relationship with both parents evolved beyond financial transactions into something more authentic. Dad called regularly to discuss everything from sports to politics. Conversations we had rarely shared previously. Mom began asking thoughtful questions about my life and actually listening to the answers, a novel experience that took some adjustment. "I realize I never really knew you," she confessed during a coffee date in April. "I had this image of you as always capable, always strong, never needing anything from me. I missed so much by making that assumption. My personal transformation proved equally profound. With the burden of supporting 3 additional adults lifted, I finally prioritized long-delayed personal goals. I increased my retirement contributions to maximum levels and began seriously exploring property investment opportunities. A financial advisor helped me establish a balanced approach to family assistance that didn't compromise my own security. New boundaries extended beyond financial matters. I declined family obligations that didn't align with my own priorities, said no to unreasonable requests without guilt, and established healthier patterns in all relationships. Friends commented on the positive changes they observed. "You seem lighter somehow," my friend Marcus noted during our monthly poker night. "Like you're not carrying everyone else's problems anymore." Dating, which had taken a back seat to family obligations for years, became a priority again. I began seeing Rachel, a graphic designer I met through a community volunteer project. Our relationship developed with clear communication and mutual respect for boundaries, patterns I had learned through the difficult family renegotiation. Long-delayed personal dreams became possible. I finally took the European vacation I had postponed 3 times due to family financial emergencies. Standing before Michelangelo's David in Florence, I realized how much I had sacrificed by consistently putting others' needs before my own. My parents' growth surprised even me. Beyond financial independence, they developed a more balanced relationship with both their sons. Dad began calling Tyler out on broken promises rather than making excuses for him. Mom stopped the constant praise for minimal effort and started acknowledging actual accomplishments instead. We enabled behaviors in Tyler that didn't serve him well. Dad reflected during a conversation in May. We thought we were protecting him, but we were preventing him from developing resilience and responsibility. Tyler's path proved more complicated. His initial reaction combined anger, entitlement, and disbelief that the family system had genuinely changed. He attempted various tactics to restore the previous dynamic, emotional appeals to our parents, attempts to create conflict between them, and efforts to portray me as manipulative and controlling. When these approaches failed, he experienced what appeared to be genuine crisis. For several weeks, he minimized contact with the family, posted cryptic social media updates about betrayal, and reportedly lost a job due to attendance issues. Gradually, however, necessity forced adaptation, with our parents maintaining firm boundaries around financial support. He found more consistent employment and developed basic budgeting skills. While his transformation remained incomplete, small signs of growth emerged. He began repaying small loans rather than expecting them to be forgotten. He mentioned saving for a reasonable used car rather than financing another luxury vehicle beyond his means. A specific incident 3 months after Thanksgiving demonstrated our evolving family dynamic. Dad required an outpatient medical procedure that necessitated someone driving him home afterward. In the past, this responsibility would have fallen automatically to me, regardless of my work commitments. This time, we had a family discussion about sharing responsibilities appropriately. "I can take Dad to the appointment," I offered, "but I have an important client meeting that afternoon." "I can pick him up," Tyler volunteered without prompting. "My shift ends at noon that day." Mom arranged to prepare meals for the following 2 days, and we established a simple check-in system to ensure Dad had necessary support without overburdening any one person. The natural division of responsibilities occurred without resentment or scorekeeping, a remarkable contrast to previous patterns. The journey forced me to confront difficult truths about family relationships. I recognized that my enabling behavior had contributed to the dysfunctional system as much as my parents' favoritism or Tyler's entitlement. By consistently solving their problems, I had prevented natural consequences that might have prompted earlier change. I also developed deeper understanding of my parents' flawed but human motivations. Their treatment of Tyler stemmed partly from legitimate concern about his different personality and capabilities. Their expectations of me reflected confidence in my abilities, however inappropriately expressed. This understanding didn't excuse past behavior but provided context that facilitated forgiveness without returning to unhealthy patterns. The experience taught me that love and financial support exist independently. One can love family deeply while maintaining healthy financial boundaries. Conversely, providing money without emotional connection creates empty transactions rather than meaningful relationships. Most importantly, I learned that self-respect must precede family obligation. By establishing firm boundaries and requiring reciprocal respect, I ultimately improved our family relationships rather than damaging them as I had feared. The crisis revealed true character in everyone involved. My parents demonstrated capacity for growth and self-reflection I hadn't believed possible. Tyler showed both entitlement and resilience as he adjusted to new expectations. And I discovered strength to stand firm despite powerful emotional and cultural pressures to maintain the status quo. 6 words in response to a demanding text message transformed our family forever. Asked Tyler. Everything will be his anyway. Those words weren't just about money or inheritance, they were about acknowledgement, fairness, and the courage to disrupt dysfunctional patterns despite the discomfort of change. Have you ever had to establish difficult boundaries with family members who took you for granted? What was the hardest part of standing your ground? Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more stories about navigating challenging family dynamics. Thank you for listening. And remember that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for both yourself and others is to establish healthy boundaries.